Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live daily on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure, all Bookmap Ltd materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. The focus of my presentation and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel in Discord is options, order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range for the day, volatility, as well as a directional bias. And the second step of my process is execution. And I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups for entries and exits. And the part I just said about confirm your thesis was important today. All right, just to be clear, I am looking again at the options market to develop a thesis for the day and as the basis for my analysis. That does not mean I'm necessarily trading options. Now, I'm just looking at an underlying. So, for example, if I'm looking at the S&P 500, I'm going to be talking about either SPY or ES, but that any trade that I talk about can be taken any number of ways, with S&P 500 futures, with ES futures, with SPY shares, with SPY options, or SPX options. That just depends on how you want to trade. Again, I'm just looking at the options market as the basis for my analysis, and then I'll be looking at a variety of underlyings, also stocks like Tesla and Nvidia, and any trades that I mentioned, again, can be taken with shares or options. All right, then finally, questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel in Discord and the chat and YouTube for questions and comments. All right, let's get started. And what I want to talk about today, my agenda for today, quickly go over news items. The news that was released this morning, economic data, as well as data coming up tomorrow. And then after that, I'll go through my positional analysis for the day, both for the S&P 500 and for stocks. And then finally, I'll talk about some setups. All right, so first of all, economic data that came out today, the GDP was a little bit lower than expected, and jobless claims in line, not a big market mover. And then tomorrow the PCE comes out, and that is the apparently the Fed's preferred inflation indicator, so that could be a market mover tomorrow. And that's at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then also there's a consumer sentiment number that comes out at 10 a.m. So that's tomorrow, something to be aware of. All right, let's go ahead and start with our positional analysis now. And I'm going to take a look at the S&P 500 futures. And this is the ES futures in Bookmap. And I'm showing data from the open yesterday afternoon. Notice the beautiful uptrend up until the RTH open, just this nice steady mechanical uptrend, and then kind of a choppy downward moving session after that, starting or around 10 a.m., something like that. Okay, so before I go into this chart and talk about anything else, I'm going to take a look at a larger time frame, and I'm going to go to the SPX. That's the S&P 500 index, and I'm just showing price and Spotgamma levels. This is a Thinkorswim chart. Again, just showing SPX price. This is a 20-day, 1-hour chart. And the levels on here, again, are Spotgamma levels. These are provided to Spotgamma subscribers for a variety of platforms. And just to point out a couple of key levels here, this is the put wall. That's the strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. And here is the 4,000 level. That is the absolute gamma strike, the strike with the largest absolute gamma, as well as the volatility trigger. And the volatility trigger is Spotgamma's proprietary gamma flip level. With negative market makers' position below the volatility trigger is negative gamma, their position on the gamma curve, and that means that they have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to enhance volatility. And then above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive, and in a positive gamma environment, they have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to subdue volatility. So you can see the SPX is clearly above the volatility trigger. And let's take a look at, there's one other level that I want to point out on this chart, then we'll take a look at a shorter time frame. And here is the 4065 level, and that's the call wall, the strike with the largest net positive gamma, and that can be expected to act as resistance. All right, let's take a closer look at the SPX now, so we can see the levels that are in play for today. So this is another Thinkorswim chart, and this is a 1-day, 1-minute chart. And this is showing up until about 11:30 or so, price was bouncing up and down around the 40-50 level, which was noted as resistance in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note, and also above the expected move for the week. That's this purple line for SPX, and now price is moving lower. It broke below both the 40-50 level and the upper edge of the expected move, and now it looks like it might have found some at least maybe temporary support at the 0 gamma level, and that's just what it sounds like, the level with the 0 gamma, at least based on the beginning of the day, market maker's position at the beginning of the day. All right, so those are the levels that are in play for today. Let's go back to Bookmap now, and I have the same levels on this chart shown in a couple of columns. The first is the Spotgamma Cloud Notes, again provided to Spotgamma subscribers for Bookmap users in the form of Cloud Notes, and this is showing combo levels which combine SPX and SPY into one level, converted to an equivalent SPX number, and then converted to an equivalent ES number. And right now, Spotgamma is using a 30-point difference between ES and SPX, and that's about right. That's what I calculated as well. So there's the combo 4052 level, And there's also the 40-50 resistance level. And now price is right around the 40-34 zero gamma level. And I have another column of notes here. These are my cloud notes. And note the upper edge, the expected move here. And this is for ES. So it's going to be a little bit different than the upper edge of the expected move for SPX. And so the levels are in play. The 40-52 level, the 40-50, and now the 40-34 zero gamma level. Again, those are SPX numbers. And let's just move down the chart and see what is coming up. So below that is ES 40-50, then the 400 SPY 400 key gamma strike, that's also the volatility trigger, and then the 410 support level. And that was noted as support in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note, as well as the 400 level. And we'll talk more about this when I talk about setups in a few minutes. So that's the S&P 500, and there were quite a few shifts in levels, all higher, all bullish. For SPY, the volatility trigger shifted higher, zero gamma level shifted higher, and the call wall shifted higher as well to 405 from 402 yesterday. So that is the SPY. That's bullish. I interpreted that as bullish at the beginning of the day. And then for QQQ, even more bullish. Volatility trigger, call wall, and key gamma strike all moved up. So for QQQ, the key gamma strike moved up from 300 to 310 yesterday, and then the call wall moved up from 310 yesterday to 320. So again, in pre-market planning, bullish for QQQ as well. All right, let's take a look at the absolute gamma levels now, and we'll be able to see where those levels come from. So this is part of Spotgamma. And these are the, let me go up. This is the absolute gamma levels for SPX. And this is the zero line. Above this line, this is positive gamma or call gamma, shown with the black bars. And below the zero line, that is negative gamma or put gamma, shown with the teal bars. And this is showing that the 4,000 level is the absolute gamma strike, the key gamma strike. And 3,800 down here, that's the put wall, the strike with the largest net negative gamma. And there's something interesting here. These, first of all, this is the call wall, the 4065 level, and that is the call strike, the short call strike of the JP Morgan collar that expires tomorrow. And JP Morgan will be rolling that that collar out tomorrow. And the interesting thing here is note the increase in size of these two black bars. Now this is at the beginning of the day, and this is an indication as price is moving up, the gamma at those strikes is increasing. So the 4050 level and the 4065 level. And again, remember this is based on open interest and gamma weighted. So the gamma is increasing at those strikes, and those are both resistance levels, could act as a magnet for price as well. All right, so that is SPY, SPX. Let's take a look at SPY. The same thing. Positive gamma or call gamma above the zero line shown with the black bars, and negative gamma or put gamma shown below the zero line with the teal bars. And here's the 400 key gamma strike or absolute gamma strike. The put wall at 390. And then now the call wall has moved up to 405. Put wall support and call wall resistance, and then this key gamma strike 400 can act as support, resistance, or a magnet for price. And one other thing that I want to take a look at, a couple of other things actually. First of all, this is the combo strikes combining gamma for SPX and SPY into one number converted to an equivalent SPX number. And again, positive gamma or call gamma above the zero line, and negative gamma or put gamma below the line. And notice, first of all, the increase in call gamma here. This is in contrast to the past weeks, where the in the combo levels the put gamma has dominated, and now the call gamma appears to be dominating, especially at this 4064 strike. And again, that is might as well be 4065, the again the call wall for SPX. And we'll see when we look at the data in just a minute that the SPX is in a positive gamma environment. Market makers' position on the gamma curve for SPX is positive. Then one other thing to look at is this open interest. And there's put data, and let's take a look at call data. So this is the 4050 strike, and recall that up above we looked at the large black bar, the call gamma, and notice there was some pretty significant open interest change at the 4050 level, and not so much at the 4065 level. That's just that increase in the size of that bar was primarily due to the increase in gamma. And that is expiring tomorrow. So gamma is greatest at the money at expiration. All right, let's take a look now at Nasdaq. And for QQQ, remember all the shifts higher. So now the key gamma strike, the absolute gamma strike, is at 310. And the 300 level is the put wall, and 320 the call wall. All right, let's take a look at the data now. And I'm going to focus on the gamma notional. This is market maker's position on the gamma curve. And note it is positive for SPX, shown in the left column here, still negative for SPY, shown in the middle column, and now has shifted positive for QQQ, shown in the far right column. And what this means is, let's start with a negative gamma environment for SPY. Market makers for SPY, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative, and that means that traders are long puts, market makers are short puts, and they have to sell futures as price decreases to hedge their delta exposure. And then in a positive gamma environment, that means, or at least Spotgamma assumes, that traders are short calls, market makers are long calls, and they have to sell futures as price increases to hedge their delta exposure. And as price drops, they can buy back their short futures. So in a positive gamma environment, again, they're trading against price to hedge their delta exposure. And these levels did shift, all more positive or less negative today. So for SPX, yesterday gamma notional was minus 264, and it has shifted positive to plus 275 today. Yesterday SPY gamma notional was minus 1601. Today it's minus 923. And then QQQ shifted from minus 232 yesterday to positive 114 today. All right, let's take a look at the Vanna models now that provide a graphical illustration of this. And I will tell you that Spotgamma noted that they did change the algorithm for this, and I need to dig into this more and more, and I think it appears to be that the black line now is more indicative of the way market makers will be hedging. So notice the slight tilt upward, indicating market makers' delta notional, shown on the vertical axis, will increase as price increases, and that is the again showing that in a positive gamma environment that they will be trading against price to hedge their delta exposure. Let's take a look at SPY, and just the opposite again. Remember that SPY gamma notional was still negative, indicating market makers' delta notional, delta exposure will increase as price decreases, and they have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure as price drops. And then finally, let's take a look at QQQ. So a very neutral environment for QQQ. All right, that's my positional analysis for the indices, primarily the S&P 500. And now for stocks, what I do is I track the key daily levels. I just look at for a quick view. I look at the key gamma strike for all the stocks on my watch list, and I track the current key gamma strike shown on the D column, that's for today, and compare it with the previous key gamma strike, that's from yesterday, and then I color code the numbers indicating whether it increased or decreased. Green means that it increased from the previous day, and red indicates that it decreased from the previous day. So remember yesterday my thesis for AMD and Microsoft was bearish, and that led to good short setups, at least for part of the day, for both those stocks. And then for today, my thesis was bullish for QQQ, Nvidia, Netflix, and Microsoft. And we'll see today, it really only worked out for Nvidia. So again, remember what I said at the beginning. I always use order flow and hedging flow to confirm my thesis. And let's just take a look at Nvidia for an example in Equity Hub. This is part of Spotgamma. This is a tool that's available to Spotgamma subscribers, and this is what I look at in the morning when I'm doing my planning and positional analysis for stocks. So I'm going to look at Nvidia, for example, and again remember the first note was the increase in the key gamma strike from 250 to 270. So a pretty good jump in the key gamma strike. Also an increase in the call wall from 270 to 275. And then finally an increase in the put wall from 250 to 260. So 3 key levels all increasing. I definitely interpreted that as bullish. It was looking for long setups in Nvidia. Alright, so that's just an example. I go through that for every stock on my watch list, and I fill out another spreadsheet that feeds my cloud levels for each stock. Alright, so let's go take a look. We'll start with Nvidia. And the first thing I want to take a look at is the Spotgamma hero. And for those of you who may not be familiar with this chart, this is another tool available to Spotgamma subscribers. And it's called Hero, Hedging Impact of Real-Time Options. And it is showing options trades and market maker hedging flow. And I have the signal, the Hero signal, separated out into calls and puts. And these lines are shown in terms of delta. So the call line indicates the rising orange line indicates that traders are buying calls. That's a positive delta trade. And a rising blue line indicates that market makers or traders are selling puts. And again, that's a positive delta position. And when traders buy calls and or sell puts, market makers are taking the opposite side of those trades, and they have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. And I'd always like to look for call buyers. When I'm looking for a long setup in a stock, I'm looking for call buyers. That's a very powerful force that can continue to help price move higher. Again, traders buying calls, market makers are selling the calls. They have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. And as price continues to increase, market makers have to continue to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. So this was the setup in Nvidia. Let's go take a look at Bookmap now. Here's Nvidia. I'm going to zoom in on the morning. So this is the morning session. Notice the we saw by the rising orange line, traders were buying calls. Also, aggressive buyers were in here buying as well. That's shown by the rising cumulative volume delta CVD line, as well as all the green dots here. The volume dots are showing buy minus sell orders, and a green dot means they're more buy orders than sell orders. And they're, you can see clearly the green dots are dominating. And this price action is pretty typical of Nvidia, choppy in the morning, at least for the around the first 30 minutes. And there were finally a couple of long setups at before 10 a.m. It looked like price was going to go higher, and it reversed back down and then began to move higher around 10:15. There was a retest of VWAP and then move up to the primary target at the 275 call wall, which did act as resistance in this case, as expected. So then there were a couple of ways to play this. Again, remember, I'm just talking about an underlying. The easiest way really was to just buy a call. Buy an at-the-money call at 272, 50 delta, and that was good for $150 per contract up to the 275 level. And instead of sitting here watching all this chop and trying to to find the correct entry point. You could either buy the call or just have a wide stop and forget about it and move on. Look for the next setup. Either way. So that's what worked today for Nvidia. All right, let's take a look at some of the other stocks now that I mentioned as potential bullish candidates. Let's go to Microsoft. And clearly that did not work out. All right, let's go back to Hero. And just while we're here, let's take a look at the total signal, which was also bullish up until about 10:30. All right, so that's Nvidia. Let's go take a look at Microsoft now. Whoops. And Microsoft order flow and hedging flow did not confirm a bullish setup. We can zoom in on the morning, and Hero, there was a slight pop in Hero. Whoops. Or a slight move higher in Hero. But as it turns out, the setup in Nvidia, as we just saw, was much better. And then right around 10 a.m., Hero shifted lower. And then price continued to chop around until about 10:30, and then finally move lower. Not much there in Microsoft. And I don't have this on my main computer, but Netflix was also had strong signals. Key gamma strike, call wall, and put wall all increased. And if we have time at the end, I'll go take a look at Netflix on my other computer. It was there was a sharp move up until about 10 a.m., then a reversal lower. And Hero was showing that traders were taking negative delta positions and price started moving lower. And before then, until 10 a.m., there was a good long setup. It'll be right here around 9:40 up until 10. Well, let's take a look at QQQ. And again, remember that all these stocks that I'm looking at now had an increase in the key gamma strike. That's why I'm looking at them first. And here for QQQ, the hedging flow definitely did not confirm along. Traders were options traders were fading this move higher. And let's see what they were doing with puts and calls. And this is pretty typical of the indices. Traders not doing much with calls. They're actually selling calls. In the S&P 500, they typically buy calls and buy puts. And we'll take a look at that in a minute. Typically, either the call buyers are winning or the put buyers are winning. And for QQQ, it's definitely put buyers driving price action. Look at this notional value here for calls minus 68 million versus minus 705 million for puts. So they're selling calls and buying puts, but definitely puts driving price action and setting up a short. And it's easier to see with this total signal here who's winning. and the put buyers are definitely winning. Let's go take a look at Bookmap for QQQ. So here's QQ. Not really a lot of range today. It looks like just like the S&P 500, most of the move, the easy move, was before the RTH open. Nice steady uptrend up until about 10:30, or actually at the open. Then price got pretty choppy, and finally reversed lower at the 316 level. Let's zoom in on that. Then we'll go back to the RTH. And QQQ makes a double top. And note the, whoops, wrong tool. So the absorption of that level, then a sell sweep, and then a retest of the 316 level. And the sell sweep is these small bright red dots. Those are aggressive sellers. And then more absorption, another sell sweep at the 316 level, and then price heads down to the 315 large gamma 1 level, and there's some liquidity at that level. There was. And then the 314 combo 4 level. So these numbers indicate the significance of the gamma at that level, and at 1 being the highest and 5 being the lowest. Still not a lot of range in QQQ today. All right, so that is those are the stocks that I was initially tagged as bullish, given the increase in the key gamma strike, and again, only the one that really only worked out as expected was Nvidia. All right, let's take a look at the S&P 500 now. Let's go back to the futures, ES futures, and let's go take a look at Bookmap Hero, and let's go to the S&P 500. I'm going to zoom in on this chart so it is showing just around the cash open at 9:30. And this is the total signal, the purple line, showing a negative hero signal from the open. Traders were fading this move higher. And let's see what they were doing. So this set up a good short. That's one great thing about Hero for the S&P 500. It also often provides a leading indicator of a short. And let's see what traders were doing. And as expected, buying calls and buying puts. And this is a combined signal for the S&P 500. It's combining SPX options trades and SPY options trades into one signal. And this is very typical of the S&P 500. Traders are buying calls and buying puts, and it's just a matter of figuring out who is more aggressive, who's winning. And in this case, you can just compare the number, look at the slope of the line, or compare the numbers. And this is 1.42 billion for calls. That's the notional value, versus 3.1 billion for puts, minus 3.1 billion. So the call buyers, at least in the range of this chart, are the put buyers in the range of this chart are dominating. Alright, so let's go back to the total signal here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on the early session. And you can definitely use this information for setups. Again, this often acts as a leading indicator of price, showing options traders are fading this move. They're buying puts. Market makers they're selling the puts, and they have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. And sometimes it takes a while for that to work out. I'm going to zoom in on from the cash open until about 12:30. So that set up a couple of shorts, and you can see the change in order flow here. Notice the green dots in this area, the reversal, and then the shift to pink dots. Aggressive buyers with the green dots, volume dots, and then aggressive sellers come in, move price lower. Then there's a reversal higher, the shift from pink dots to green dots, and then a series of lower highs, and price finally breaks below the 40-50 resistance level, again with aggressive sellers coming in there with the pink dots. And price finally made it down to the 40-34 zero gamma level and a little bit below. All right, so that is that's a short setup in the S&P 500. Again, you can trade that in SPY, ES. Let's take a look at SPY. And here I'm showing a reversal, and this may be, this definitely came into play as well. This 404 C1 level. Again, that's a combo 1 level. That's a significant level of gamma. And just below the 405 call wall and also the 40-60 resistance level. Slightly lower highs with each test of this 404 level until price finally breaks lower. With a quick final test here. And notice all of the sell sweeps coming in. So buy sweeps here with these small green dots. Turn that off. And see this small bright red dots, that's all sell sweeps. Those are aggressive sellers. So Truman asked, what happens during absorption and how does that affect the price? First of all, I recommend that you go to the Bookmap knowledge base and take a look at absorption there. But the absorption is, it's actually shown by this indicator here, this pink number within this red square that I just drew. That's absorption. And also absorption is really just an exhaustion. Absorption is passive sell orders. absorbing the price, and you can see a reversal at that 404 level. That's absorption. So passive sell orders absorb the buy orders, and price moves lower. And just looking at this from in terms of SPY, the 404 level was in play as a resistance, and now here's the 402 level acting as support. So this range, 2-point range, this 2-point range in SPY is pretty small compared to I guess recent weeks, recent months. And remember, VIX is down below 20 now, so the volatility for the day has decreased. All right, so short setup in the S&P 500. Again, ES futures, SPY shares, SPY options, SPX options. All right, Sheena asked, do you put the gamma levels on your chart manually? And it's, I guess, semi-manual. What I do is I have an add-on that's available in the Bookmap marketplace called Price Lines, and I use that. I fill out a spreadsheet every day, and I change the numbers. And this is I have the C levels, these cloud notes for every stock as well as futures, and I'm showing whatever I want here. So I'm using this Price Lines to show, in this case, key SPX levels. There's the 40-60 resistance level, and here's the 40-50 resistance level, as well as the upper edge of the expected move for the week for SPY, and there's the 404 C1 level. And what I do is fill out this spreadsheet every day, and I just change the levels. So here's SPY. Here are the main levels in SPY, and I think you can do this on your own without this add-on. The add-on just makes it easier, and it also draws the horizontal lines, which I like. I like to see the horizontal lines. So that's where the gamma levels. That's where I'm getting that's how I'm showing the gamma levels on my chart for stocks. All right, so that's SPY. Now let's take a look at some other stocks. There were good setups in Tesla, up and down. And Tesla, I was slightly bullish on Tesla as well. Both the hedge wall and the put wall increased higher. And let's go take a look at Hero for Tesla. And with Tesla, there is usually a very strong correlation between options trades, hedging activity, and price action. And let's see what call buyers were doing. And there's your clue. Right around 10:15, 10:20, you can see this orange line increasing. Indicating that's a good time for a long setup. Price breaks this trend, call buyers come in, and price starts to move higher. And RJ asked, are there levels for NQ like there are for ES? And yes, there are. So we'll just take a look at NQ in just a minute. Let's finish up with Tesla, and then we'll take a look at NQ. So NQ, there are Spotgamma is using QQQ and NDX options, so there are combo levels for NQ. I focus on QQQ. NQ is huge. There's some, like Trader HE trades NQ. He's good at it. I think if you trade NQ, you probably need to just concentrate on NQ. So I like to trade a variety of instruments, so I focus on QQQ. But we'll take a look at NQ in just a minute. So let's go to Bookmap, take a look at Tesla first. So there's Tesla, and let's zoom in on the morning session here. Whoops. And pretty choppy, but general uptrend. Here's the first trend break and a move higher. That's the one at 10:15. Let's go back and take a look at Hero. So there's the move at 10:15. Call buyers come in. We can confirm that with order flow. Trend break and a move higher, and if you miss that first move, there's a retest back down to the 195.50 level and VWAP, and then a move higher. And so far, the 197 level has been the high of the day. All right, let's take a look at NQ. And very narrow range for NQ. So there are Spotgamma levels for NQ. And this is an L2 level. And this is for NDX, the 13,000 level. And then in my C levels, I'm just showing the big round numbers, the 50s and the zeros for NQ. Let's go take a look at QQQ. Now, for somebody who traded NQ on a regular basis, NQ futures, I would figure out the ratio between QQQ and NQ and put the QQQ levels on this chart and see how well NQ responds, or QQQ responds to those levels. Here, resistance just around the 316 level, and support so far at the 314 level. So if you trade NQ, I would figure out the ratio for NQ to QQQ. It's around 40, and then mark those QQQ levels on your chart. All right, there were a couple of other good setups that I really didn't have a plan for, but let's take a look at them. And the first was Amazon. And sometimes it's just hard to track everything. There's so many there's so many stocks, and you know, I'm only one person, so it's hard to find everything. I think Spotgamma is going to implement some additional alerts that may help finding stocks like this. I think that's supposed to come out at the beginning of April, so maybe next week we'll see that. But anyway, here is Amazon. Nice move up. Let's take a look at Hero. And for Amazon, strong confirmation between hedging flow and price action. Call buyers driving price action. Notice how price moves up as long as the traders are buying calls, and then when they stop buying calls, price levels off. Hero basically flattens out and price levels off. So good move right in the morning, first thing in the morning. All right, another one was Meta. It took a while for options traders to get going here. Let's separate out puts and calls. So total signal was, or breaking out calls and puts provided stronger confirmation. Traders are, in the morning, they were buying calls. Let's go take a look at Bookmap for Meta. Very strong uptrend in the morning. Price target at 208. Notice all the liquidity at that level. And that liquidity attracts price. I'm going to zoom in on this first part. Notice all the buy sweeps in here, all these small green dots, and also the bullish order flow shown by the increasing cumulative volume delta, and also all the green volume dots up until about 10:30, just below the 208 price target. All right, the last one that I want to take a look at is Snowflake. And I added this stock a while ago, and recently it really hasn't done much, and somehow today it really took off. Not sure why. Maybe it was in the news. I'll have to check on that later. But you know, super uptrend in the morning. You know, if you had any information, any thoughts about Snowflake, the thing to do was just to buy a call. And price briefly hesitated at the 140 call wall, the key gamma strike, and then moved right up to the liquidity at 145, making for a great long call. Let's just go take a look at Hero. Now, there were no changes in the key gamma levels for Snowflake. So sometimes watching those key daily levels doesn't work. It usually does, but sometimes no. All right, we'll take a look at Snowflake and then wrap it up. And very strong correlation between options trades, hedging flow, and price action. And traders were buying calls, and there's your clue. And one other thing to point out. One potential clue, this morning, this trending list does change during the day, but Snowflake was on that on this list at the morning, shown in green, and then also this is the way this is my watch list down below, and this is the way it looked in the morning. Now I post this in Discord just in alphabetical order, but when I sorted this this morning, it was in the same order. And what I'm looking at, I'm ranking it by hero signal. This is the hero signal, and what this is showing is the strength of the hero signal compared to the last 30 days and the last 5 days. So it's a little bit easier to see here. Maybe in Snowflake I have that highlighted. There's a slider that's shown in this little bit darker section. That's showing comparing the hero signal for the last 30 days, and then the colored portion shows the compares the current hero signal to the last 5 days. So this is showing that the hero signal for Snowflake is higher than it has been in the last 5 days, and probably in the 80th, 90 percentile for the last 30 days. So a strong hero signal, worth looking at if you didn't have any other plans. That's another way of approaching this, looking at these trending stocks, ranking by hero signal. All right, let's go back to Bookmap. So Snowflake, great long setup, probably the best long setup this morning in the stocks on my watch list anyway. And let's just wrap it up. We'll take a quick look at the S&P 500. So it looks like that SPY 402 level and the 4034 SPX 4034 zero gamma level did hold as support. All right, that's all I have for today. That is that's it. I want to thank you for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. And remember, tomorrow the PCE number comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll talk about that during my session tomorrow afternoon. So again, thanks for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.